America's backbone was built on blue-collar business grit, grind, and muscle. This is where you stop working for the business, and the business starts working for you.
All right, let's talk about making your business sellable. So now you got a business.
Yeah.
You've had it for 2 years, and you're like, you know what, I'd like to sell this in 2 or 3 years. What do you got to do?
All right, so I get super excited about this one because the majority of business owners do not have a sellable business. They've got a high-paying job, and the sad part is it's not even a high-paying job. Most of them have an average-paying job, but all the responsibilities of the business owner. What are you doing? You got into entrepreneurship to have freedom, but you have zero freedom. You have a ton of liability, and you make equal to or less than what you would have made in a W-2 job. So the biggest thing that people miss is they have no manual on how to operate and move through their business structure. How do you get the customer? How do you service the customer? How do you collect from the customer? How do you do the little details inside of the fulfillment processes, the marketing processes, and the financing processes? So get your manual built by building standard operating processes.
Yep.
Infield checklist. Those are the two things that have changed my life. And a matter of fact, the infield checklist, when I implemented that in my core business and my guys had to check mark off, grab your booties and your flyer, greet the customer, inspect, take before pictures, run over the invoice to make sure all line items and the pricing is agreed upon with the customer, get the customer signature. When they have to check mark that off, I know we're not missing something, and I know we're going to be setting ourselves up for success every single time. Now, it's not like when I first started, I felt like I was a gunslinger, and I walked into the environment and I said, okay, visually it looks like it's going to cost this much, and here's how I'm going to tackle it, and I tackled the job different every single time. How do you train that shit? You can't.
You can't. And this is why when I was hiring guys for my business, I liked guys with no experience, with good attitudes.
Yeah.
Because they're a blank canvas, and I'm going to show you my ways, and they don't know anything. The worst is when somebody says, well, I have 20 years of roofing experience. I don't want you to come. Because they come, and whatever you tell them, they have a better way. Even when it's clearly not the better way. So you got to have, one way to do it is start with the easiest things. And then break it down and take one task, even one task a week.
Yeah.
Where you really write a manual, write it out. And you can make a Loom video if it's something on your computer.
Yep.
But if it's in person, go out there with your phone, video it, edit it, make it one a week. That's 52 a year. And you can take something easy. And if you're not motivated to do it, one way you can get motivated is, once I do this, I kind of retire from this task.
True story.
Because you're going to, when you have a manual, you're so much more likely to delegate that to someone else. And if that person works for a year and they quit, you got the manual.
That's huge right there, because people get tired and they're like, I don't even want to train it, or I don't even want to hire because I'll just have to retrain it when they leave. But to your point, you've already created the training process with the Loom video, with your camera phone, taking the video while you're in the field, with your document bullet pointed, with your checklist. You don't have to recreate it a second time. You hand it over and you watch them and you answer questions for about a week, and the learning curve is massive because they've got all the information they need.
And another key is, at some point you can have employees who learn that teach the new employees.
Yes.
So you give the manual to the new guy, but the guy that you trained a year ago is now overseeing and helping that guy. I mean, how many times have you had a guy when you had no manual, you know you're sick of them. You want to fire him, but you're like, I don't want to redo this with someone else. But if you have a manual on systems and you're like, I could put this person through this in a week.
Right.
That's why we like simple businesses. I don't want super complicated. And then I can get one of my guys to do it. So I did that so many times with gutter cleaning. I teach guys, they'd know it inside and out. I would check, hey, and then I would actually have a manual on how you teach the new guys. And by lunch, they'd text me like, yeah, he's good.
Yeah.
Golden.
So here's something that I've seen you do extremely well. And that is, you've created a process to generate new customers over and over and over again. You don't wait for the customers to come to you. You proactively go out to get the customers. How important is that to be able to create a sellable business for someone to say, oh yeah, this is exactly how the customer acquisition looks?
Well, that's everything, and you got to build a process and a manual on that. But too many businesses, we see it. What's the number one question we get? How do you get leads?
Yeah.
They sit around and they don't do it. I never had a problem with leads. Like, I enjoy going out to hunt, but once you get your customers going and everything, you have to have a system where you delegate that. For me, it's virtual assistants. They're emailing, they're calling, they're texting, they're messaging.
Go over your system just in detail somewhat so that we got a good example of what yours look like.
Well, we're going to do it in the windshield too.
Okay.
So if I'm going into another state and I want to get more apartment complexes, more condo associations, more nursing home, I'm going to tell a VA, this is what you need to pull. I need you to collect data on this. I'll tell them how to do that. That's either buying lists, that's going on Google, that's going on Apollo, all these different ways we have. They're going to build that all out. They're going to put phone numbers, emails, and everything, and then we have systems to start reaching out to them. First, we're going to reach out with email, then we're going to get into their vendor programs, then we're going to call them and say, we're in your vendor program. It's just a rinse and repeat. So that's why I've been able to go in so many states, because I know exactly what's going to happen. I don't go into Alabama and like, hey guys, I'm here, call me.
Yeah.
I go out and do it, but it's very systemized, and I know it's going to work over and over. I know it's going to work in the windshield business. What are we doing? We're building a database of all these Freightliners, Penske, Ryder, those type, and then we're just going to reach out and call them. But I never stop doing it. That's the key. If you're doing it yourself, I used to go get jobs, and then I'm like, wait, I got to go do the jobs.
Right.
Then I go do the jobs, and then you don't have more jobs. You have to create a system of where you're constantly doing it. So one way I did it back in the day when I was cutting lawns was I would start at 7, and I knew to myself in the beginning, I got to be done at 3. But I had a couple guys, they would keep going till 5. I felt they could do it for a couple hours, and then I would just go knock on doors. And then I'd say, hey guys, I'm leaving at 2. I'm leaving at 1. I used to start having like half full days. All of a sudden we had 2 trucks, 3 trucks. And like, I just kept going. So you have to have a system, and that's a sellable. Now, if you're door knocking, it's not so much a system, but for what I have now with virtual assistants, when I go to sell that business, that company is going to just continue that. They're just going to, why would they ever stop?
Well, I think this is extremely huge because we, as most individuals, are lazy. We're not lazy in our thought processes, but in our actual actions, we are lazy. And what you're talking about is being proactive in your approach. You go knock on their door. Whether you're knocking via email, you're knocking via SMS, ringless voicemail, literally knocking on the door, your process is knocking on the door, where most people say, I'm going to put this bandit sign and wait for them to come knock on my door. I'm going to get a digital marketing company and let them do my SEO and wait for them to knock on my door. You will go hungry if you're not willing to go knock on the doors. It's like when I first hired I was trying to hire a salesman for my business to go out, build rapport, and start our affiliate marketing program. And this sales guy would hand his business card to the people that he met, these potential affiliate partners. So for us, the water damage, we'll use a plumber as an example. He would hand the business card, his, to the plumber and not get the plumber's business card. And I said, so did you get the business card? He said, no. And I said, well, how are you going to reach out to him? He said, oh, well, that's a good point. That was him saying, here, you come knock on my door when you're ready, instead of him saying, I'm so effing hungry, I'm going to come knock on your door, so make sure I understand where your address is and your phone number. So when I'm out, I want to make sure that we're doing the knocking. And if you want a business that keeps consistent leads coming in, you got to do the knocking. Like I am so much more confident when I see a business model that says, here's how we go get our business, compared to the ones that sit there and say, well, we just have good lead flow, they just come to us. I'm like, well, what if that dries up?
Yeah, and it doesn't matter how you're doing it. Like, look at like Shy, who came on with door knocking. That guy knows his stuff. Yeah. Now, if he had a roofing business and he was selling it, and he said, hey, I got 8 guys door knocking, here's my system, here's what it produced over and over. You know he has all that.
Right.
All that. I would say if I buy that business and I keep his system going, it's going to continue.
Yes.
Where other guys, they have no idea where they get leads.
That's it.
They don't know. You have to So talking about making that sellable business, you have to show the marketing, how you get leads and how that continue. I ask guys that all the time on businesses. They do not know. I'm essentially out at that point.
Yeah, I agree. So what about management? So the fact that I'm an investor, I'm looking to buy this business, because we're talking about making this business sellable. So the people that have the money typically that are going to come in and buy this business when you're knocking on the door or you've passed that $1 million mark on EBITDA, that owner, if they're operating the business day to day, you're going to have to do an earnout. You're not going to be able to just cash in and walk away. They will want you, that investor coming to buy the business is going to want you to stick in with the business for several years, because they understand you're very vital to the business. How do we remove this owner out of the business? What is needed?
You got to delegate everything. So you can't do that on day one. You got to do that over, say, a year. And you got to remove yourself, so that if you got in a car accident and nobody knew where he was for a month, that business would not only keep running, it would keep growing.
Yeah.
So you have the marketing going, and then you have the systems going. That's a sellable business, because the guy who's going to buy your business, and if they're going to pay $2 million, they have money, they have work to do. They already have stuff going on. They cannot run your business. If you have to go in, because I've done it, right? I bought a roofing business. The guy was totally involved in the business. We bought that at a 1x multiple.
Yeah.
You'll shoot yourself in the foot. It's the difference of your business being worth $2 million or $350,000.
Massive difference.
Or nothing.
Yeah.
Really.
So when I'm looking at delegating, I am constantly looking at those that are critical thinkers, problem solvers, and I'm also always training my people to come to me with solutions instead of the problem, because what I'm doing is hopefully training up, and I can delegate and rise up within. So I can take my current people that are sitting here at a lower level and elevate them up inside the company if they are absorbing the training that they're getting within the company by me saying, bring me 2 solutions. So anytime someone knocks on my door and they say, hey, what do I do here? And I say, what do you think we should do? Tell me 2 solutions, and then I want you to choose which one's better, and I'll let you know if I'm okay with doing that. You start to empower them. The other option is you're just going to have to go out and find someone that's already in an upper management position that has a proven track record at another business, and it's going to cost you more money, but that might be the better path, because you may not have those people within your company currently. But the whole point of this is you got to have someone that can make the decision. And here's something recently also I want to mention about this. Make sure that your management people know how to process and critically think to arrive at the decision that you would. So how do you do that? You tell them what the 3 main things are in your business. You make sure they understand what your core values are. So like for me, one of my core businesses, our 3 main things is solve the customer's problem with excellent customer service. That's number 1. Number 2, when they're doing their decision processing, is provide help to your teammate. Number 3 is provide a profit for the company. This is how they're supposed to move through their decision-making processes. Are we solving the customer's problem and giving them a good customer experience? Are we helping our team member, and then are we providing a profit for the company? Then after they've sourced through those 3 main things that our company focuses on, we go to our core values. Is it getting growth for the company? Is it resourcefulness? Is it providing excellent service? Is there accountability in this? And is there teamwork in this? If they've processed all of those, I am 100% okay with the decision that they're going to have, and that their outcome in that decision, because it followed our core values and our main things. I
love that. You built a system and they just follow that out. Because that's what the other thing. You can't be all over the place. You got to keep it really basic. Like I always tell people when we were making those decisions, first thing, we always do the right thing.
Yes.
Even if it costs us money. It doesn't mean we want to blow money.
That's right.
We always do the right thing. People love that, because I wouldn't want to work for a company where you're like, I don't feel good about that. We're getting over on that person. We always do the right thing, and then we look at it. I always say, give me 3 ideas, and then choose the best one. I trust you. But I don't just start somebody like that. In the beginning, I'll work through a problem and I'll involve them.
Yeah.
And I'll say, this is why I'm doing this. First, I'm just telling them. Then I'm saying, this is what I'm thinking. here's 3 ideas. What do you think? And then they say, yeah, I think we should do number 2. I say, all right, why? And they say, yeah, because number 3 is this, and I like number 2. I say, I agree, let's do it. Then I have them bring it back to me. So it's just like a process, like almost like raising a kid, right? In the beginning,
you show them.
Yeah, you got to show them slowly.
Yeah.
And you got to give them confidence. And then people like to be empowered. People like purpose. They'll think way different about their job. I've met so many people at W-2s that people didn't respect them at their job. They're always looking to leave. If they're talented, they're going to leave. And if they're not, they're just going to be a cancer there. So when you get talented people, ask them questions. Let them be their best version.
This is the difference between your staff and your management. The staff have repetitive processes. Your management has to make decisions without you, and they have to arrive at the decision that you would have arrived at. So you give them that system. What are your 3 main things for your business? What are your core values? Filter it through that. And you train your management if you're elevating up within the company by having them bring solutions to you. I think this is such a key point inside of making this business sellable out of the topics that we're going over right now.
Because now you go and you're selling that business and you're saying, these people are staying on. We have systems. Here's our marketing system. These are people who are running the day-to-day. That people like that business. People will pay sometimes 10x multiple. We talk about multiple. EBITDA is essentially net income. If you're making $400,000 and you have these systems in and you're essentially removed, you could get up to 10x multiple on that. Let's just say it's 5x, you got a $2 million business. If you don't have those and you're the dancing monkey, you're the guy that's always looking at his phone, nobody can do anything without you, everything will fall apart, nobody's really going to buy your business. They're going to buy it for equipment and some customers. You're going to get 30 cents on the dollar.
So let's move into this last point on this then. The profit margin that needs to be there for it to be sellable, because there's a profit margin that individuals like you and me are going to buy because we're looking at it and saying we can put this value inside, we can tweak these few things and we can get it up to this point. Then there's a different level of investor that's above the me and you type investor that'll come in and pay a different level of multiple. So what type of profit margins should they be looking at before they're going to even probably be able to sell it at all?
I think you got to be at 20. I mean, 18 is probably on the low end. If you can get it up 25, 27, then you got a nice business.
Okay.
And
so $1 million in revenue business, we're talking about 20%, you're sitting at 200,000. So you need to be a little over $1 million in revenue so that we can get at what, about 300,000? 300,000. If you buy that business with debt, then you got about 150, and you really don't want to drop below 150 in free cash flow after debt's paid.
And it's got to be the 300. If you're making 300 net, it's got to be not including your salary. Too many owners are like, yeah, well, we do 300, but they essentially have 100,000. They should be paying themselves 120 grand. So you're making 180 then. And anybody who's sophisticated, who's buying $1 million business is going to know that.
So where's the level? When do we get out of the buyers like me and you, where we're looking for a 3x multiple max, maybe 5x if it's a super repetitive,
$1 million EBITDA.
$1 million EBITDA.
If you get to $1 million in net income, that's kind of the number. You get private equity interest. People used to say it was 2 million. But there's lots of history of people in that 1 to 1.4 range.
So we got a $5 million revenue business producing 20% profit margins. We're at $1 million EBITDA. And let's talk about the multiplying effect on this real quick. So let's say a private equity company comes in and they're willing to give us a 5x. What does that mean? What kind of money are we selling this business for?
Well, if it's netting, EBITDA is $1 million net income, not gross revenue, what you're actually profiting after all salaries and everything, making $1 million. If they give you a 5x multiple, you're going to get $5 million to that business.
This is why it's so important to make sure you watch every dollar and you protect your profits.
And the other thing, when you're really removed, you're much more likely to get an all cash offer. We know somebody got a $32 million on there, blue collar, plumbing, HVAC business, $32 million check. Now, no earn out, no thing. Now, if you have a business and it's not doing big numbers, there's going to be an earnout. You're going to be involved. They're going to be calling you. And then then that person probably thinks, well, why don't I just keep it?
Yeah. So this is why we went over. So recapping the whole process, you want to make sure that you've got management in place, that you can be gone for 6 months. This business is still going to maintain, preferably keep growing in revenue. You want to make sure that you have systems and processes for everyone to be able to follow. You want to make sure that you've got a nice profit margin, because investors are looking to buy cash flow. They're not looking to buy just a system and process or brand. They're looking at the cash flow. It's a return on investment. Every investor is looking at their ROI. And you're looking at also their manuals that are in place. So if they've got a proven process, they got the people to follow those processes, they've got the profit sitting there, then this is going to be a business that interests, and you get a massive rip.
Yeah.
Like when you go to sell this thing, think about walking away with $5 million. Opportunity and options open up when you've got money like that. And if you've built a business like that, you can go in and do rinse and repeat in other businesses, but instead of being the operator, now you can consult with operators for new businesses.
You can consult for equity too.
Starts getting super interested then.
You have a million options at that point. And if you cash out for $5 million, you're going to see things you didn't see before because you can buy them.
This is the real blue collar millionaire world that you want to be playing in.
Absolutely. Very doable.